Hello, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Microbrew, Milwaukee Brewers Chatter from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. My name is JR Radcliffe. I am the host of the show. I'm with the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, and my colleague over there is Curt Hogg. He covers the Milwaukee Brewers. They started this year in historic fashion. That's not a good thing. They lost all 3 games in the Bronx. They lost one game 20-9 when they gave up 9 homers. That tied a record. They've given up 15 homers in 3 games. That's more than ever before by 2 homers in franchise history. They scored some runs. There's some good things. But in the theater of small sample, we're here to panic all about it. I hope you're buckled in for a good time tonight. Curt, how are you, buddy? I know you were not in New York. You're going to be there on Monday when the Brewers open up their home season against the Kansas City Royals. Do we know the starting pitcher? I guess it's probably Elvin Rodriguez, but we'll talk about that as well. But Curt, how are you, buddy? How are things?
Well, I'm over the hill now, over the hump now. I might
over
be
the
over
hill.
the hill too.
You do turn 30 in April,
Frankly,
so over the hill is coming
folks.
for you.
That's right. 30th birthday is coming up. Everyone's invited to my party. I am getting over a bit of a cold. I feel good. Do
you think I gave you that cold? Remember how sick I was? Do you think that because we have not physically been in the same space, but I could have,
yes,
podcasting.
Yes, over StreamYard. That's how I got it.
Very viral over StreamYard.
If in 2020 you probably could have convinced me, like early on in the pandemic, that I could get I could get COVID from Zoom. If someone had run with that really hard, I probably would have believed. Like, we believed,
Really?
we just kind of ran with it. We were just doing stuff, man. We were just flying by the seat of our pants. We were just doing things.
I'm going to disagree with you there. I guess some people were drinking like Drano to try to clear out COVID. People had ideas, horse something or other. People had ideas about how to fix COVID-19. Some of them were successful, like the vaccines were successful, for example. there were treatments, but yeah, I don't know. I would not have thought anything is happening.
You wouldn't have gone
Zoom.
that far. Okay, all right. Well, anyway, I was sick. I'm a little less sick now. I feel good. I'll be totally fine for tomorrow. I'm locked and loaded. Yeah, let's do this thing.
Okay, well, we're gonna. I don't know if the safest thing is to pretend that the season has not yet begun for the sake of the Milwaukee Brewers, or if we want to go all in, go the other way and say, "Wow, this team is in danger." I obviously, let's throw the caveat out because you have to. We always have to say it's 3 games, and no one is going to draw any conclusions from 3 games. The Milwaukee Brewers in 2011 lost the first 3 games of the season. In fact, they lost the first 4 games of the season. They came back and won a record 96 ball games. That is the record. Technically, they tied it in 2018, but they needed an extra game to do it. 2011 is really the gold standard. So obviously, there's still plenty of runway to do good things. This has happened 6 times before in Brewers history that they've lost the first 3 games. I would say the other times are not good. They're not what you want to talk about those seasons. So the Yankees are very, very, very good. We know this. Aaron Judge is very good. So when he hits 4 home runs in a series, you kind of tip your cap to some degree. But Curt, that was an epic disaster of 3 games, particularly games 2 and 3. Where do you want to begin? How do we begin to get our arms around this series in which your Milwaukee Brewers surrendered 15 home runs and scored 14 runs of their own? Where do we start with this?
I think you have to run down all 15 home runs. That's where I want to start. I want to see if you can remember each of the 15 home runs the Brewers gave up in the last 3 games. Do you recall them?
Are you familiar with the Animaniacs?
No.
Okay, so they're a cartoon. They're somehow in the Looney Tunes family. They were always with Tiny Toons. I don't know. They're just crazy.
Yeah, you have to remember, like, the pop cultural Venn diagram, but for us two is 2 circles.
Yeah.
There is space in between.
Right.
We do not cross paths at all.
I agree with that. So I think, okay, so for people who know Animaniacs, they have a so-called Nations of the World, where he basically just goes through United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru. Like, he just sings all of the nations of the world. I think you could do that with Yankees home runs. So you could say, like, Austin Wells, Jazz Chisholm, Aaron Judge 4 times, Jazz Chisholm again, Anthony Volpe, Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt, Oswaldo Peraza, Ben Rice. I think I missed a Volpe in there. Okay, I couldn't do it on the fly as well as I wanted, but I'm pretty sure I got them all. Some of them were barely over the Little League field right field wall that they have, that Hellfair field layout that they have. Bless the Yankees. It worked out for the Brewers because Jake Bauer's home run, also fraudulent, but off the pole, and that's legal, and that's how it is. Austin Wells' homer was completely fake to kick off the season. Back-to-back games in which the first batter of the game hit a home run. Paul Goldschmidt terrorizing the old team. Aaron Judge's homers were not fake. Those were all very, very real. So they at least have that going for them. 15 home runs, Curt.
Yeah, no, we should simply start by talking about the fact that Nestor Cortes walked into Yankee Stadium, his old stomping grounds, and gave up a homer on the first 3 pitches he threw.
You cannot make that up.
If you don't laugh, I don't know what you're doing, because it's funny.
I mean, and throw in the fact that Devin Williams, the guy who's traded for Nestor Cortes, almost blows that game.
Probably should have.
In quite epic fashion. They were up 3 runs against the bottom of the order, and he needed to strike out Jackson Chourio and Christian Yelich successively to get out of that. Now, we've seen Devin escape jams just like that, where he loads the ballpark against the bad hitters and then strikes guys out. That's not unusual, but still, you had that moment on Thursday, and then Nestor Cortes, 3 pitches, 3 home runs. I think first time in big league history that 3 pitches, the first 3 pitches of the game are sent out.
I believe we don't have 1000% pitch tracking beyond 87 or 88.
That's true, yeah. So we can't say this for sure.
I'm gonna say it. That's never happened before. That can't have happened before.
I mean, there's so much from Saturday. I mean, Nestor Cortes, I believe it was Codify Baseball who had this, so I didn't verify, but the stat was no pitcher has ever faced fewer than 35 batters while giving up 5.
You're going to take
homers.
my stat. You're going to take my stat and give it to them?
You know what? I apologize.
On my own podcast. Okay, they
I
phrased it a little differently, but I sent it first.
Okay, you tell me the stat about how Nestor Cortes' start might be the worst ever.
We were doing the same stat head search at the same time. It's what it was.
JR, the old 5 homers, 5 walks trick.
Yes, the way I phrased it was a little different, but it's the first pitcher since 1949 to allow 5 homers and 5 walks in a game. 5 or more homers, 5 or more walks.
That's more substantial than what Codify had. They had some caveat on
it. But
pitcher since 49 is
so there's 5 pitchers previously. I think 4 or 5 that did it. They're all from 1930 to 1949.
And did they all get fired?
And each of those pitchers went at least 6.2 innings.
Oh no.
So they just gave it up for 100 years of baseball, the starting pitcher just stayed in the game. And it still only happened 5 times prior to Saturday.
And
that's not good.
Let's
think of
find
how
a way
many guys just stayed in the game for 8 innings. I don't care what you got today, buddy. You're going 8. And then it's not happened more than 5 times. That's oh man.
I don't want to turn this into a festival of dumping on one guy or even multiple guys, because I believe in my heart that Nestor Cortes is going to be a functional member of this rotation. But that was one of the all-time worst pitching performances ever. And then the thing is, Curt, it is arguable that it was not the worst pitching performance by a Brewers pitcher that day, because Connor Thomas came in and also gave up bombs away. He ends up giving up 8 runs as well. Connor Thomas just needed to get in there and soak some innings up. Welcome to the big leagues. And it did not go well. First outing, you can't really put that. I mean, first big league appearance at Yankee Stadium. That's not fun. But that wasn't great for a Rule 5 guy who,
nope.
I don't want to say he has to justify his place on this roster all season long, but there is a quirk there. If he isn't good enough to be at the big league level, they're gonna be done. They have to move on.
And it's not your standard Rule 5 pick, so.
Right. I mean, he's not a young up and comer who's not ready.
The results have to justify it because it's more of a finished product.
Chad Patrick checked in. Big league debut for him. We're excited about
Good
that.
For him.
He gave up a home run, but also pitched okay. We did see some I think Elvis Peguero had a nice inning, and then Bryce Terang. You know what? Can we talk about how Bryce Terang homered and also committed an error in this game? We have all these stats about that Saturday game, but that's nonsense that Bryce Terang would hit a homer and commit an error in the same game. These are two things I never thought I would see necessarily within the same month, let alone in the same game. Amazing.
Yeah, that's like me going to Aldi and buying the frozen green beans and the double stuffed Oreos. Never done before.
Do you not like double stuffed Oreos?
Well, I'm just not doing both.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
It's
Big,
like
big,
I'm
big
either
Oreos guy.
going all I'm going all love a double stuffed Oreos.
Yeah.
And theirs like are pretty cheap too, and they taste pretty all right.
You know, I don't like the double stuff. Like it's just it throws off the equilibrium for me.
Oh, it's got to be double stuff.
Oh no. I'm not into that.
Yeah.
My move is to buy the Oreos and then tell my wife that they were on sale, which is why I bought them, which is sometimes true. And then usually by the time we
You
get
deviant
home,
boy.
a row is missing, which I have no explanation for. I've been known to have an Oreo in the car.
You have to do that. You have 2 kids.
Yeah,
And if you
don't, eat them
if you don't have one of the sleeves, then you're not
Right.
getting Oreos. It's that simple.
You're
It's
absolutely
that
right.
simple.
It is.
Like I don't have to because my kid is 3, and I'd be like, no, and then put him up higher somewhere. But your children have like their own full autonomy at this point.
That's true. That's true. They
probably
will eat the Oreos.
unfortunate for you. Yeah.
They are more deviant than I am. Like I at least will admit that I've just consumed all the Oreos. They will eat them and be like, I don't know what happened, and legitimately mean they don't know what happened. But they know. This series was not an Oreo in that it was not even. You had a good game to start with 4-2, and then the 20-9 game on Saturday, and then again on Sunday 12-3. If you thought it was going to get better, it did not. The Yankees hit 4 home runs, couple stupid ones in there, but like at this point, the contact is solid. Everything seems bad. The starting rotation now, the thing I think, Curt, that would be worrisome is that the reasons I think this team is in trouble to start the year, those are not the reasons they got bombed in this series, because their starting pitching is a huge question mark. But the 3 pitchers that pitched in this series, those are the good ones. And then the guys like Vinny Capra, who I just can't understand how there is a spot on this roster for Vinny Capra to be starting on opening day, but he homers on opening day. I mean, he's doing fine. Jake Bauers is hitting the ball. It's the the guys you're going to rely on that. William Contreras did okay in this series. Yelich and Chourio had their struggles. Chourio strikes out 5 times on Thursday and makes a bad throw from the outfield that I think kind of led to a run. So that was a rocky debut that we could talk about. What can we say? Something good? Is there anything to say that was good? I'm normally not really into the silver lining, but after spitting all that out, I'm kind of like, what was good? What was good to start the year for the Milwaukee Brewers?
Sal Frelick.
A lot of soft contact, but
you said Jake Bauers. You said Jake Bauers.
Yeah, he was good.
There you go.
You're right.
2-way star, Jake Bauers. There we go. We got the good out of the way. Let's get to the meat of the conversation here.
Sal Frelick was able to dink and doink a little bit, but also some hard contact. Some nice.
He's swinging. He was swinging harder.
Yeah, I struck out a couple times.
Yeah,
maybe there's a trade-off.
We like to see that. We like to see it. It's like in Space Jam when Michael Jordan comes back to the dugout after striking out, and when one of his teammates goes, "That's a good strikeout, Mike. It's a good strikeout. When you strike out, it looks good. When I strike out, it's a bad strikeout. When Sal Frelick strikes out, that's a good strikeout. I want to see that. But when Jake Bauers strikes out, it's the Gordon Ramsay meme. You donkey.
Yeah. Tell me about what really worries you here, if anything.
And okay, so
it could be nothing. It could be nothing.
No, it's
it's
the same thing that I would have said coming into the year. Like, we don't want to overreact over 2 or 3 losses by any. Well, at least I don't. You might want to. Some of the listeners might want to, and that's fair. You can do whatever you want. But coming into the year, the concerns were twofold for me. It's like, is the back half of the roster good enough? Because in years past, you're getting 4 months of Colin Ray with a 3.7 ERA. Things like that are happening. And I'm not so sure that magic is going to be there this year. And wasn't so sure coming to the year. I don't know. Like, we'll see. Alvin Rodriguez pitches Monday. Who knows what sort of Brewers-like performances these guys will end up having this year. Maybe it ends up being the same, but I just don't see it, like, the depth of the roster as being there. and then a few starting pitcher injuries hit, and it's like, it's dire. The rotation is on paper, just on paper, you would not put it anywhere near the top of the league. You wouldn't put it in the middle of the league. You'd
I
probably
don't
put
even
it
know
in the
who's in it.
bottom. Well, we still don't know who the fifth starter is. I'm assuming it's Chad Patrick, but
Yeah. We don't even know the rotation. The fourth starter is a bullpen game.
Correct.
Probably.
I mean, the next two games are essentially, unless they call someone up, essentially bullpen games at that. Like Chad Patrick's not going to go very long for you either. A couple of injuries. That's how it happens. That's it.
And it was more than a couple.
Sure. Aaron Ashby, DL Hall, Tobias Myers. That's three. That's three spring training starting pitcher injuries. That's kind of unfortunate. So I don't know who you want to blame for this, but like that's the reality of the situation. And you don't want to get off to a bad start. That's the second thing. If you can survive April, you get your starting pitchers back. You get Myers back in there. You get Quintana back in there. That'll be pretty soon. You got Woodruff back and healthy. Who knows? Ashby Hall, one of these guys, pops back in and pitches well. Then you feel okay about it. But you can't get off to a really bad start in April, and then just hope or assume the ship reverses course. That's probably not a great plan of attack. And so that's probably where my concern lies is, okay, you're 0-3 now. And like, what's the next step? Like, what are the reinforcements? Who knows? Maybe Elvin Rodriguez turns out and can be the guy that helps right the ship and doesn't just have to be one game or him, but they need performance. They need performance from guys like him, from guys like Connor Thomas, from guys like Abner Uribe's in that group, Chad Patrick, whoever else they're going to call if Grant Anderson gets called, like players like that. And who knows what Aaron Savali's hamstring injury is too, if that's something serious. Well, guess what? Jacob Mizorowski, get on up here.
Yeah.
I don't love their depth, and their depth is being asked to be in very important roles right now. And that's my concern.
Yeah, one thing I think that ultimately bothers me, but I don't really understand everything behind the scenes with it to really know. And this has nothing to do with the first three games, but how is it that Jose Quintana isn't available to throw his first start? And it's because he got to camp late because they signed him late. Well, why did they sign him late? He was out there. Were they really just trying to strangle every dollar out of that very small, relatively small contract that he signed so that he wouldn't sign until X number of weeks into camp and then wouldn't be here for the first week of the season? That's bad. If you're trying to win every game, bring in the pitcher that you know you're interested in, that you're ultimately going to bring in, rather than trying to wait and get in a situation where you are relying on guys that are not ready or are not capable of getting the job done. Now, again, that speaks nothing to these three games. I think if you look at the three games, I mean, I don't know how you watch Nestor Cortes and not be a little worried, right? Like, it's only one outing. Of course it is.
Yeah,
but
he's throwing 89. He's not fooling anyone. He can't
That's
command
not
worth
five
anything.
walks. Five walks like in 2 innings. That's an alarm bell. And the homers are too, but the walks are really bad.
I'm not gonna freak out on Nestor until I see a couple more of it. But the trick is gonna be this for the Brewers. It's getting him to right the ship when you don't have previous experience righting the ship. That's something the Brewers have been pretty decent to good at in years past, is like identifying things and understanding and having relationships with the pitchers, and like that allows you to mend the issues on the fly during the season a lot better than I think some teams have it. Think about like Tobias Myers last year, for instance.
Yeah.
And so that's a tricky thing to do with Nestor. Like that's priority one right now, but they also have about five other priorities just floating in the background here of like, hey, we're pitchers and we didn't do very well either. So all these problems to tackle and figuring out what's wrong. You don't want to, but also like, do you need to change something, or do you just go out and do what you did again? Like, you don't want to overthink it. What if you don't actually identify anything to tweak? Can you do more harm by trying to fix things? Like, that is really, really hard. That's a really difficult process. And I think people should understand that that's the most difficult thing I think any coach in any position in baseball, in my opinion, can have to do. Like a pitching coach trying to sort through that mumbo jumbo with someone that you don't know that well, that you never seen pitched that much. So that's where I'm at with Nestor.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. The Brewers last year, and no two teams have to be the same. There's no correlation. But last year's Brewers were very good in April and March. Of course, they swept the opening series in New York in a mirror image to what we saw this year, and then they ended up kind of coasting for a couple months. They were pretty pedestrian for a while, but they were still in good shape because they had done all that winning early, and then they kind of figured themselves out. In August, they start they're awesome again. And then September kind of cooled off, but by then things were pretty much settled. And that's a 2011 team. Speaking about a team that started 0-4, I remember that August thinking, this is the best baseball team I've ever seen in my life. You know, they're going to win every game. They were just clubbing people. They had been pretty boring up until that point. They'd been very, very pedestrian. And then all of a sudden it clicked. And all it takes is that 1 month. You know, I go back to last year. We were even, I think, early August listening to one of our podcasts, like, this team might be in trouble. Like the pitching, we still are worried about it, even though they've been kind of holding it together. And then
we were right about that. I'm standing with it. We were right
then,
about that.
Yeah, but the next week we're coming back saying, you know what? Actually,
Okay.
they're not.
Okay.
We shouldn't be worried about them being in trouble. We should start wondering when they're going to clinch because it's like a done deal now. They went on and won the next 5 games.
Sure. I know. I know what message you're going for, but I think we were right about the starting pitching.
We were
not right about a lot of things, but
no, we were.
But
it's certainly manifested in the postseason.
After seeing how the trade deadline went, kind of going, what's the plan here? It's Tobias Myers and hope, and it turned out to be actually
not a bad idea.
The one guy that did pitch well, but
this is a team that made.
Yeah, it's been 3 games. Yeah, you're right. It's been 3 games. Next week you could go 5-2 in this home. Yeah, 5-2 in this homestand. I think it's a 7-gamer.
It is,
and suddenly you're looking good. And also, this division stinks, JR.
It's so bad.
By luxury of being home and being kind of sick and the weather being crappy, I just sat and watched a ton of baseball on my laptop. It was glorious. These teams stink. The Pirates, probably not very good. Actually, might be bad. Probably bad once again. The Reds,
they got walked off 3 times. What a miserable weekend. They're 1-3.
By the Marlins. The Marlins are like, as an aside, the Marlins are like, heck yeah, look at us scrappy. We're going to scrap out wins. And it's like, guys, David Bednar, you're not going to get David Bednar every game. I'm sorry.
Right.
But the Cubs have their flaws. I think the roster's pretty good, and their starting pitching is going to be like a problem. But the Reds aren't good. The Cardinals, who knows? I think they might be a little pluckier than we're giving them credit for to begin the year. But like 3 wins is not going to blow me out of the water with the Cardinals. You have a decent week, and you're going into this road trip feeling okay about this team, but last year I think it felt if like after a bad stretch you felt confident that they could flip it a little, like, okay, just have a decent week here and then it'll usually be a good week. I just don't feel that going into this week for some reason. I don't know, maybe that's the nature of baseball, but do you feel great about this week for the Brewers?
If they sweep the Royals, I will say to myself, okay, they somehow pieced it together against a team that's also maybe not great, and 3-3 isn't awesome. I feel like because there's going to be a couple bullpen games in there that they will have gotten lucky to some degree. But but I mean, I don't know. The Braves are. I haven't seen if they lost tonight, but they're 0-4. Like, I mean, obviously the Braves are good. The Twins and Tigers both took one on the chin because the Tigers played the Dodgers. You know, they started.
No, the Twins might stink.
The Twins might. The Tigers might too. I don't know. The Central is wow.
True. We're
the
3 games.
Central is a journey. You know, obviously you can't rule anything out. The Yankees are a very good team. They had to go to the Bronx.
They did.
And
Braves lost 5-0, by the way.
Yeah, terrible start to the year.
So
they had to go to the Bronx and play a team with fake bats, with torpedo
bats. I was
bats.
just going to say, we got to talk about the bats.
Well, we can do it in 3 up, 3 down. Let's bring 3 up, 3 down in, shall we? We'll start with the bats.
Yeah. Well, are we doing it now? I feel like there's a lot of baseball to talk about.
Okay. Well, where do you want to go? What do we need to hit?
What do we need to hit? I'm trying to think of what did we not get to. Maybe we just go to 3 up, 3 down, JR.
I think we can. I think we can do that.
I think we touched on all the bad things. We could go positive for a little more. Like there are some listeners that are like going to want to feel better as they get ready.
We tried that. We got to Monday. Jake Bowers. We tried being positive. We got to Jake Bowers. It was like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess that's all we had.
Okay, well, here's what I'll say. I think what I want to see is I just need to see a little evidence of the Brewers winning games in the sort of way that like they have to win games. You know what I mean? Where they're using 5 different pitchers. They have a game where they're not hitting home runs and they win just like a 4-3 ugly bullpen fest, like that sort of thing. Because we just haven't seen it, and we don't know what this team's identity is right now. Like they're not going to slug. They're not going to be a great starting pitching team. So like, what is it? And even with that, like, raises my own even more questions about like, well, what exactly are they going to do great? But again, I did pick this team to win the division or at least make the playoffs like a week ago. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't back up from that. But you can stick to your guns, buddy. I can't. I can't
Wasn't
back
too
out.
optimistic, thinking they would go 82 and 80. Let's talk
Oh
about
my
one more thing before we
goodness.
get to 3. I am not there yet. I promise I am not
They're not a
worshiping at the
65 win
temple of
team.
doom. No.
Probably.
Well, there are examples of teams
Oh
like
my
the
goodness.
Cardinals. The Cardinals did this. They fell off the face of the earth. Yeah, I'm not there yet. I won't be there for a long time. You are obligated contractually to not actually make declarative statements about your team until Memorial Day. That is the rule in baseball. You actually can't start to
Bad rule.
panic until August. That's
Bad rule.
also the rule.
Nope.
Right.
April.
I
If
mean,
your team stinks at the end of April, blow the whole thing up. That's what I say.
oh, I'm for that. I'm here to tell you that I am ready to panic on much shorter intervals.
Okay,
Let's talk about one more thing.
I'll once again be the one to sit here and be like, you know what, JR, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Even though they just gave up
15
32
homers in
runs
3
in
games.
2 days. They've never given up 32 runs in 2 games in franchise history.
14 runs over a 3-game series in the Bronx is not even that bad. That's like not great, but it's
No,
fine.
no, totally fine.
You would
Totally
take
fine.
it. You would take it. Freddie Peralta looked pretty good on opening day. Not a long start, but a good start. You would take that. The 4-2 loss on opening day, whatever. Got a couple cheap home runs, got a ball off the bag at third base, whatever. A couple breaks didn't go their way, but woof, then came Saturday and cold water on the face. Let's talk about one more thing before 3 up, 3 down. This is something that has lingered. It has been there last year. We definitely saw some of it this week. Good friend of the pod, Spencer Michaelis, I think has really been on this subject, and that is the volume of fastballs that get called with William Contreras behind the plate. I think, and I might be misunderstanding this a little bit, but this speculative idea that more fastballs makes his job easier, the catcher's job easier, and enables him to frame a little bit better, to throw runners out maybe a little bit better. I mean, just control some things that maybe are even more important than the type of pitch you're throwing. The Yankees feasted on fastballs. They love them. Delicious. And the Brewers threw a lot of them. And it seemed like, especially Aaron Savali on Sunday, really, really heavy on that fastball when it just didn't feel like the right fit to be throwing. So I wonder what you think about that. What do you think about is there something to that with William Contreras?
Yeah, so I think there absolutely is. Like, there's numbers that you really can't deny. And I'm going to try to tackle this actually in the coming days. We'll see how that goes for JS Online. So,
Okay.
potential story tease. I have nothing in the works yet because I haven't talked to anyone about it. But maybe we'll start that up this week. I'm just curious. I'm trying to go into it open minded. The Brewers throw a ton of fastballs. They throw, I think, they threw more fastballs than I think anyone last year. And in 2 strike counts, I believe they threw the most fastballs. And I want to go into this thinking like that's not necessarily a bad thing, and it's not necessarily a good thing. Part of it might be like it might just be like descriptive of the team. The Brewers bring in a lot of guys with 3 different fastballs. Think of how many different pitchers they've had that can give you length and have a sinker, a 4-seamer, and a cutter. Colin Ray, Bryce Wilson, Aaron Savali, Nestor Cortes. Well, I don't know if Nestor Cortes has a sinker, but anyway, like everyone has at least 2 fastballs. So that's kind of where their starting package is for these, like scrap heap, cheap acquisition. Will tinker with you pitchers. That's the guy they get. Frankie Montas, another guy like that. So part of it probably is that. And my question too is, I'm wondering if it's as much a Brewers thing as much as it's a William Contreras, and it's an individual catcher thing. Because Their other catchers in the years past have called a lot of fastballs too. Now, like on a small sample on Sunday, there were some fastball calls from Contreras behind the plate that had me scratching my head, and I'm sure you were scratching that wonderful bald scalp of
Mm,
yours. Like a 3-2 fastball to Aaron Judge. I don't like that. At least go cutter. That's a better pitch than your 89-mile-an-hour four seam. You could either make it go strike to ball on the outer edge, or you could go ball strike and maybe get him to bite. If you walk him, you walk him. I don't like that. I don't like the 89-mile-an-hour challenge fastball to Aaron Judge right down the middle with 2 strikes. And there was others too. I think Jazz Chisholm's homer against Savali was a 1-2 cutter, which is at least better than going like, or no, maybe it's a sinker. I think he might try to
I thought it was a cutter,
sinker or
but I don't
cutter.
remember.
Cutter, maybe it's a cutter that like backed up on him a little bit. Yeah. And Chisholm just got the bat head on it, and the very special bat head. We got to talk about those in a little bit, but yeah. So I was like, I didn't get those calls. Aaron Savali's the guy who has some pretty good spin. Like I think his curveball's a good pitch. The sweeper works too. He threw some splitters today as well. And it's like, go to something else there. Try to finish them off with breaking balls. And that's a small sample thing. And it's exacerbated when the other team hits it out of the park. But of the 15 homers they hit this weekend, JR, 12 run fastballs. The Yankees crushed fastballs, and the Brewers just kept throwing them.
Yeah. When we have brought this up like last year, just asking about maybe William Contreras as a receiver, as a pitch caller, that sort of thing. I mean, everybody always praises him, and it doesn't feel like they're hiding anything or that they're pushing something to the side. It seems like people are really comfortable with him, and they really believe that he has their best interest in mind when he's choosing what pitches to throw. And Pat Murphy seems to feel that way too. So there's no, it's not detectable if people with the Brewers are thinking maybe go easy on the fastballs, William, like maybe just mix it up just a little bit more. It doesn't matter if one gets to the backstop on you. But I don't know. I mean, at some point it'll have to be evaluated, like you can't get away doing this.
That's the real question here is like, how do you value game management and pitch calling from a catcher?
That's right.
And how much of it's on the catcher, and how much on the pitcher, and how much of it's on the staff and the game planning? It's that's a bigger question at hand here. And also, like, do we make too much of it? Maybe, I don't know, but in certain instances, like Sunday, I don't think you are making too much of it. That was there was some questionable calls, and I was getting some texts from other people like working in baseball. They're like, what are the Brewers doing here? What is their intended objective of these fastballs? Yeah. It's one thing when it's Jacob Mizorowski and like, all right, here's 97. I'm going to put it in the zone, challenge you. Even Freddie, when Freddie gets beat with his fastball, had a weird shape, by the way, in that game. Like some of them were like cutters almost. But like the one he struck out, the changeup was disgusting. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Did we figure something out there? Maybe.
I don't know.
Think about that last fastball that Freddie threw to Judge to end his day. That's like 96. He commanded that really well, put it at the letters and said, hit it. And he didn't, because he doesn't get to that pitch. But 89, I mean, yeah. That's my long answer to your question.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like the Yankees pieced together rallies here. I mean, it's hard to do that when you hit 15 homers. Like the home run ball was why they lost these games, because they just gave up bomb after bomb after bomb. That instant offense, they would, in both Saturday and Sunday, they came back a little bit. It was the Brewers version of false spring, where they, got behind, got back within a couple runs or a run, and then, gave up more bombs. So, frustrating way to go. All right, I got some new music. We'll see how this plays for our various segments. We're going to start with some of the more granular details from the week from these 3 games. Let's dig into it more. It's so fun. It is 3 up, 3 down. Curt, do you want to start us with the torpedo bats, or do you?
We got to talk about torpedo bats.
Torpedo bats.
So, look, there have been different variations of bats throughout baseball history, I'm sure, but especially like you think about the hockey puck. Stuff on the handles, like where's the weight distributed a little bit. So this is not exactly new, but something about the torpedo bats feels a little different, because it's sort of like a wait. No one thought of that. They just
Yeah.
added like wider wood lower in the bat. They just kind of extended the barrel down. No one had done that. I'm so like everything in baseball has been studied to a science. It is probably one of the most well-studied fields in is that an overstatement? Is baseball is one of the most well-studied fields like in America? I feel like we have a lot of information. The public has a lot of information on baseball.
I think if nothing else, you could say that people are trying to get an edge any way they can, and the
Right.
equipment is one way to do that. Or
And we're on like yeah,
precision.
we're on like 25 years of like pretty much every 20 years of every team being like, okay, let's find an edge using some sort of like, I don't know, technology and math and science to our advantage. And the Yankees are just like, wait a second. What if we get a really smart guy to tell us to just make the barrel go down a bit? Our guys are hitting the ball here. So why don't we put more wood there? And then they hit 15 homers the first weekend with the bats.
Now, we should point out that Aaron Judge hit 4 of those homers with a very normal bat. Aaron Judge doesn't need your torpedo bat.
Aaron
He's going to
Judge
hit
hit
homers.
60, 62, 63 with a normal bat. So
That's correct. He
imagine what
doesn't
he
need
would
your,
do with
your torpedo bat.
Barry
And
Bonds.
then
Better
many,
hope that he doesn't get a torpedo bat.
many of the homers are hit just over that stupid right field wall. So like these weren't torpedoes. They were, little fly balls that got out. So it's not like the torpedo bat greatly altered history, in my opinion. But it is crazy to me because in sports, the equipment is so highly, you assume anyway, so highly scrutinized. It has to be, between X amount of weight and lengthwise. And like, you can't just go up there with any old weapon. It's got to be one of these like bats that have been carefully scrutinized to the correct dimensions. And here they come trotting out. Not only do they come trotting out for the first time, but like right away, MLB is like, no, they're totally legal. Reese Hoskins, according to our colleague Todd Rosiak, immediately turns to the equipment manager, Jason Shawgard, is like, get us some torpedo bats. Let's go get those right now and have them delivered. It's legal. Why did no one think of this sooner? That's a good question. I don't know, because it sure seems like they're, if nothing else, they look very comfortable swinging those bats.
Yeah, I would venture to guess most, maybe I'm wrong about this, but most MLB hitters would at the very least be like, yes, let me try it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
that was one of
the
the
how many times do you get a ball on the label and it's like, I hit it well, but like that just wasn't the sweet spot. Like I just didn't get the good wood on it.
Right. So let's put more of the good wood at the label, and then when you hit the label, bomb.
It's
Certainly
possible that these things don't actually help that much.
Probably
if at all.
that's probably
It's
true. They probably do nothing.
Very plausible that actually bat science is well developed and teams do understand like, no, the bats that we have are good. They're just fine. There's no difference in these. Like that's very plausible here. And the Yankees just happened to hit 15 homers in 3 games with them, and now everyone's like, I need them. So, but we are going. I think here's actually what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to look back at this in like November and be like, remember the torpedo bat?
As the moment that history realized that the torpedo bat was the way to go, like the catcher's mask change. It's going to be like, why?
Oh, I
no
was
one
saying
talking
the
about that?
opposite of like.
I know
was
you
gonna
were.
say-
I know you were. I know. Yes, it'll be similar to the see-through uniforms last
No,
year.
I
That
was just going
all
to
the
say, JR,
rage.
I was going to make that comparison. Then I said, no, because when I'm in the clubhouse, the pants are like, I got to phrase this properly. But like when a guy comes in from a spring training game and we're going in there to talk to him, right? He's got his full uniform on and it's the lighting. Like you can see the full jersey, like the tail of the jersey through the pants.
Yeah,
The
they're
pants
still
are
see-through.
still little see like you if you're watching on TV too, guys, some guys in the dugout, like the tail of the jersey is still visible. They're still see-through. I have not forgotten this. It is still in my mind. I wish it wasn't, but just make the normal pants, MLB. What are we
For real.
doing?
Better bats, but also better pants, please. My number one on 3 Up, 3 Down is looking at Isaac Collins, who was one of the last guys on this roster. I think the last guy on the roster. We were surprised that he had made the cut. Switch hitter, outfielder, which makes him a little more versatile than some of the other options that they had. He ended up coming up in a couple big spots. He comes up with the bases loaded as a pinch hitter in that first game, that 4-2 loss on Thursday to kick off the season. Did not come through, but had a good long at bat. Looked fine. And then later in the game, he doubles off of Devin Williams during this rally in the ninth, where the Brewers ultimately only score one run, but put runners at second and third with one out after that. And unfortunately, they do not come through. But Isaac Collins showing up on day one, and like I said, the funny thing about this is that the guys who've homered for the Brewers are, Bryce Terang, Vinny Capra, and Jake Bauers. Isaac Collins hit a double to the wall. It wasn't really a threat to go out, but it was a boomer. It's the guys that you don't expect offensively to be contributing right away who are in fact doing that. So Isaac Collins, welcome back to the big leagues. He had a limited amount of time with the Brewers last year, and now he is he's making his first opening day and making the most of it, I would say.
That was a fun game for
it was a fun game
on Thursday, and the ninth inning was just great drama too, and fantastic stuff.
Yeah,
I thought they were gonna, after Jake Bauers walked, I was like, yeah, I think they might do this.
Well, they had the best hitters up,
and then Devin clicked in. I feel like he sort of got by in the Terang at bat. I mean, Terang scalded a ball like 105 against him, so he got lucky there. And Terang swung at ball 4, which was a fastball that missed by like an inch, but still.
Yeah.
So he got lucky there. And I thought Chourio gave him a pretty good battle, and Devin won that. And at that point, I'm like, okay, well, we've seen this before. And then he dotted a couple changeups to Yelich. It's like, well, this is over. This guy has no chance here.
I messaged you well before Chourio. I want to say an inning or two before, and I'm like, because Chourio at that point had struck out 4 times, made the bad throw. I'm like, Chourio redemption against Devin Williams, it's coming. Now, I didn't actually think when we got into the ninth that that many runners would get on base, but sure enough, I was thinking about that the whole time. Like, Chourio is going to be set up to come through big time, and he had a chance to do some damage. Unfortunately, it did not work out. It was just a 5K. Is that a gold? What is the golden sombrero? That's 4, right? So what's 5 strikeouts?
The platinum
sombrero. The Platty.
Yeah,
tough.
Well, I was gonna go to that as my next 3 Up, 3 Down. So let's just
by
roll
all means.
with it. That's about as bad of a day as you can have. Over 5 strikeouts. Strikeout with the tying run on second base in the ninth inning, and then the throw was bad. The route he took, the exchange in right field, should have gotten the runner try to score from third. It didn't end up being the difference in the game. It was just 1 run. The Brewers lost by 2, but still just an ugly game. He looked much more like himself the last 2 games. He hit a ball that should have gone about 430 feet in the first inning Sunday, and it landed in Cody Bellinger's glove because Yankee Stadium is a bizarre ballpark. Center field is like a graveyard. I don't think I've ever seen a baseball hit out there. Don't think I've seen it once.
I'm going to use this opportunity to squeeze in my trivia questions. Can you name for me, Curt, the only Milwaukee Brewers player to strike out twice, or strike out 5 times in a game twice? Who has achieved this glorious platinum achievement unlocked 2 times in his career?
Can I go with the low-hanging fruit of Rob Deere?
That is a good guess. He's done it once, but he has not done it twice. We're a little more modern than that. A little more modern. Not Jose Hernandez, who has also done it once, but somebody else in that era.
I was going to go Marquise Grissom.
No, Marquise Grissom has never done it. Okay, 2 guesses is out. Richie Sexson has done the 5 times.
Yeah, that guy stunk.
Yeah, he did not stink, but he definitely could strike out. He could strike out with the best of them. He could hit that ball over the Yankees center field. He's capable of that. That dead center power was unbelievable at its peak. Gorman Thomas struck out 5 times in a game in I don't have my notes, but 74, I think. Maybe more recent than that, but he ends up winning the game on a sacrifice fly in the bottom of the 17th inning. He actually also had a hit in that game, so he finishes 1 for 6 and has the game-winning walk-off sacrifice fly in the 17th inning after a 5 strikeout day. That's a wild one. That's a good one.
I think Gabe Kapler in 08 struck out 4 or 5. He was like 0 for 5, maybe 0 for 6.
Could be
5 strikeouts, and then he hit a walk-off homer against the Nats. That one sticks in my mind. I don't know the exact.
Is that a Brewers he was with that?
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been 5 strikeouts then. Okay, Gorman's the only one who has 5 strikeouts and a hit also among the 13 guys. Or so. It's actually only 10 different guys, 11 occasions because of Sexton.
Okay, so maybe it was like over 5 with 4 strikeouts.
Yeah, probably. Real quick too, I was looking at 3 homers to start the game. The Brewers have done that one time. 3 homers on leading off a game. Can you name those 3 players for me? It's September 9th, 2007 against
Yeah,
the
it was
Reds.
at the Reds. It was Weeks Hardy Braun. Give me a new one.
Oh my, I love it. I love it when you shine like that, Curt. Makes me so proud of you. That's exactly what it was. It was Weeks Hardy Braun. That was 4 runs in the first, 3 in the second. Brewers took a 7-1 lead. They won the game 10-5. All right, my last 3 up, 3 down. I'm going to give you some names. You tell me what they all have in common. Cody Bellinger, Aaron Judge, Riley Green, Giancarlo Stanton, and Brian Hayes. What do all those guys have in common, Curt?
Did you say Khalil Green?
No, Riley Green.
Why did I hear Khalil Green?
I don't know. Shouts to Khalil Green, San Diego Padres.
I can't even answer now because now I'm
Thinking of Khalil Green.
sitting here wondering what is wrong with me that I heard Khalil Green. I don't know the answer to this question.
Anyway, the answer is that Jake Bauers has retired all of them. He has thrown 6 innings over the last year and a week with the Milwaukee Brewers. He has a 3.00 ERA, 6 innings, 2 earned runs. That is a quality start from Jake Bauers. Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, what percentage of big league pitchers that have thrown at least 6 innings have an ERA 3 or lower? Like,
I don't know. I should
like
look that
10,
up.
like 10% of big league pitchers that have thrown that much.
He might be legitimately one of the best position players pitching of all time because he, the rule changes I think have kind of fostered this, the roster stuff.
But like you got to get at least like 5 innings before I'm starting to like really sing your praises as a position player pitching. And he's almost certainly still just getting the ball hit right at people, but I'm not going to believe it. It's skill.
I mean, that's completely right. 3.0 ERA is no joke.
Gabe Kapler, by the way, I misremembered this. I misremembered the strikeout part immensely. He was just 0-for-6 with 2 strikeouts.
Oh,
so that's a lot less cool.
Still a good way to, bad day ends well. That's nice. Jake Bauers, probably you don't want him pitching on back-to-back days in the first series of the year. That seems bad, really, really bad. But 3.00 ERA is good.
Hey,
over 6
it's
innings.
A great way to get around having to have a guy suspended 4 games. Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter.
We might see him on Monday too, because Abner Uribe still has one more game on that suspension.
No. You can't have your best this early in the year. You can't have your best arm go 3 days in a row.
They have to.
Not good for the health.
Do they consider they probably consider that. Like, we can't throw you for the sake of your arm on 3 consecutive days.
No, he could do it. He could do it. He could do it. He's throwing like 55.
Yeah. Oh man, so funny. All right, let's go back in time real quick. It's our annual segment of Brewers history. It's Remembrew When. Curt, I'm taking you back to 1979, and that is the opening day game for the Milwaukee Brewers. They're in the Bronx. They're playing the Yankees. They'd won 93 games the year before. It all sounds so familiar.
Did they give up 32 runs in 2 games?
You'll be surprised that no, they did not. They did not do that. In 1979, the Yankees had won the World Series the year before. The Brewers had won 93 games. And you know who the pitching matchup is? It's Mike Caldwell against Ron Guidry. Ron, Louisiana Lightning Guidry, who had won the AL Cy Young in 1978. Mike Caldwell finished runner-up in the AL Cy Young voting. So the two of them are squaring off opening day, and Ron Guidry is feeling it. He's retired. He retires the first 16 batters in a row. He is throwing a perfect game into the 6th inning. He'd gone 25-3 the year before. This was actually the first time these two guys had met head-to-head. But actually, the Brewers end up scoring 4 runs in that 6th inning against Ron Guidry. They break up the perfect game with 1 out in the 6th, and then they score 4 runs. It was actually the most runs against him in an inning in a couple years. Don Money had 2-run singles. Cecil Cooper an RBI singles. Sixto Lizcano. Mike Caldwell actually allowed the first 3 batters to reach, almost Nestor Cortes-like, though not really quite as bad. All of them had gone down 0-2 in the count, and then they get like some fluky hits. They get 3 guys on right away. Cliff Johnson hits a sacrifice fly, so it's 1-0 Yankees right out the gate. But then he gets Chris Chambliss, and Greg Nettles gets out of the inning, and then he faces 1 over the minimum for the next 5 innings and ends up going a complete game. And the Brewers win this game. So they go from perfect gamed to winning the game. For some reason I didn't write down the final score, but whatever. People don't care about that. This was I found they were saying Bob Uecker was saying a lot of people got cramps from standing for Guidry last year because they were giving him a standing ovation at the start of the year, and he was just trying to. There was more to this, and it was funny, but I just want to mention Bob Uecker, quite honestly, and it's not that unusual, but he was mentioned in this game story. Interestingly enough, this was the first game where clubhouses were open to women journalists and TV personalities, presumably. So I did not know that in 1979. That was the first time that happened. And then that was it. Brewers won in the Bronx. I think they took 2 of 3 in that series. Very different outcome here this time around in the Bronx, Curt. Different stadium, too. Presumably, it was much harder to hit home runs in the original Yankee Stadium that was up and constructed in 1979.
I hope Todd at least got some good pizza.
Well, I'm sure he did. What do you think would have stopped him? He's not a pizza guy, is he?
Having to cover those baseball games.
You think he had heartburn from watching all the home runs leave the yard?
Sitting in the press box until the wee hours of the morning trying to describe all of the Yankees' individual home runs. That could have done it. I don't know.
He probably couldn't sing it to the tune of the Animaniacs Nations of the World song. Curt, let's close this thing down the way that we will do every week on the Microbrew podcast. It's Curt Blanche. It's your take of the week. Here it is. Curt, take it away.
We couldn't be more back if we tried, folks. We have real baseball. JR is worried about the Brewers. They got their butts kicked. And I get to cover a game in person on Monday. That's awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. Except for the fact that it's the home opener. JR, this is maybe my stodgiest old man. I am turning 30 after all. So I'm getting I like my BBWA member number on my card is dropping. So I'm getting closer to being senior status.
Mm.
The home opener is my least favorite day to cover in the entire season.
Really?
It's too much. I like the daily routine. I like having no one there. I like what I like, and I don't like how long opening day is. Frankly, how crowded it is. I mean, the crowd ends up always being great, and the pageantry and all that stuff is cool. I love it. Whatever. But I've seen it before, and I got to get there so early tomorrow, and then I got to stay there so late. I just don't want to do that, frankly. I just don't want to do it. Give me my routine. Give me my normal Wednesday night in July game with a smaller set of reporters and an easier post-game scenario, easier to maneuver from player to player, all those sorts of things. Like, let's get past opening day and let's get to game number 2. And then let's see who's really in there for the long haul. That's what I want. Hope everyone has a great home opener tomorrow. The weather is supposed to be bad, but not terrible.
No, bad.
So you can.
Bad.
Oh,
well, it's not going to be like snowing, but it's going to be 40 degrees.
I was going to say, like, if I could sit out and have a tailgate, I think that might change my perception on things a little bit. But I will not be doing that, unfortunately. So I don't know if anyone will be tomorrow. We'll see.
I think your sentiment is shared by a lot of diehard Brewers fans who don't get into the sloppiness, I would say, of opening day and are more into the Tuesday night games in May, where there are very few people, but also every game is just as meaningful. I think what I don't like about it is I actually do like the home opener if it is also the season opener. In this case, of course, it's game number 4, and I get why a home opener is more important, but ultimately you've got a team flying back from New York. They're going to have to be there early to do some of these, media stuff, presumably. They're not going to be able to, the starting pitcher is going to be bullpen. It was Jacob Junis last year because we're 4 games into the season. It always feels a little fake to me to have opening day again because opening day already happened. Obviously, there's a chance here to honor Bob Uecker. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff that way.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But like it always feels like a fake event to me when it isn't actually the season opener. You get some of that atmosphere later in the season when it's a playoff push, and that feels very earned and very like how it should be. But like the fourth game of the season, the faux opening day always feels just a little bit fake to me. As a appreciator of baseball. But that said, if it's a walk-off hit, the first win of the year, I think people will be going crazy. It'll be super, super fun. And then I won't mind staying long because I don't want to go out into that weather. So I won't mind being indoors where it's nice and cozy and comfy. That's all I have for you, Curt.
So many press conferences.
Yeah.
So
and
much
it's all like questions that have been answered already, right? Like, it's a lot of, we love the TV people, but like they're asking some of the same questions that have already been like repetitively doled out. And it's just like, okay, we get it. We're excited to start the new season.
Yeah, to be frank, when they bring the players into the press conference room tomorrow, I'm probably not gonna even go in there. At risk of missing perhaps some. Oh, that's true. I'll have you go. Perhaps at risk of missing something enlightening. It would be one of the first times that's happened in one of those sessions. I'd rather be in the clubhouse.
Yeah, that is hopefully where we will get our best material for you this year. A lot of 6 more months of baseball here at the Journal Sentinel covering the Milwaukee Brewers, and hopefully a 7th for the people who want to see October baseball. This will be a weekly podcast, hopefully dropping every Monday. We kind of got off schedule the last couple of weeks because of various things, but hopefully we'll be with you Monday mornings. So after a full week of baseball, it'll be myself, Curt Hogg, Todd Brosiak will be joining us again per usual, and we'll get you covered. Hopefully you tune into jsonline.com for everything that's going on opening day. Lots of Bob Uecker pageantry and whatever else happens, and then a game against the Royals where the Brewers will still be looking for their first win of the year. Curt, any last thoughts before I send you away?
The Bucks gave up how many points tonight?
145. 145.
Oof. Boy, oh boy.
Woof. Season's falling apart rapidly.
Yeah. Banner weekend for Milwaukee sports.
All 4 1 seeds getting to the NCAA tournament final. Awesome. Wow, to quote a musical. It's great. Love it.
I mean, the Final Four is gonna be awesome.
Well, sure, it'll probably be great. Although,
but we couldn't sneak like 1 4 seed in there. That's where I'm at. Give me as close to chalk as possible, but like a couple of really fun upsets to mix things up. Like St. Peter's goes to the Elite Eight.
Yeah, the Elite Eight games this year were not awesome. One was good.
Yeah, that didn't make up for it either. Like if the 1 seeds are going to win on buzzer beaters, fine.
Yeah, cannot believe Texas Tech fell apart. Just totally. What a crazy choke job. Okay, we'll be back. We'll be back next week. We'll discuss who we we'll discuss who we think is going to win the national championship because we'll have that game set at that point. But more importantly, we'll talk about this team against the Royals and the Reds. Thank you for listening to this edition of Micro Brew. We will chat with you again very soon. Bye-bye, everybody.